They used this money that was supposed to be used for feeding children.
The Justice Department revealed Monday that its investigation into G&I and other stores connected to allegedly bogus Medicare claims was called Operation Gold Rush.
To buy houses in Minnesota, resort property, and real estate.
This month, federal prosecutors across the country charged 19 people for that international scheme, including 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗏𝗪. We're fighting for the extradition of many of these individuals. We hope to see them face justice in an American courtroom.
In Kenya and Turkey, luxury cars.
Prosecutors say 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗏𝗪 and others bought about 30 medical supply stores, then used them to submit $10 billion worth of bogus Medicare claims.
Jewelry and much more. Commercial property.
But the group collected 41 million taxpayer dollars from Medicare.
We put together this timeline looking at all of the fraud schemes that we have seen and how they all unfolded in Minnesota.
And 900 million from Medicare supplemental insurers from the pockets of American taxpayers.
And then you have the FBI getting involved. Director 𝗥𝗘𝗠𝗠𝗠 saying that they're surging resources, saying in part in a Twitter post that it is the tip of an iceberg.
It's interesting that the big cases of all of this fraud, whether it's welfare, daycare, EBT, SNAP benefits, whatever, they're all located in predominantly Democrat, blue-run cities. Illegal immigrants accused of looting Medicare in massive Chicago fraud case. We've got Seattle. We've got Oregon. We've got California. We've got Minnesota. We've got Chicago, D.C. I mean, these are all known players that have had huge cases of fraud. And particularly in Minnesota, had all that fraud just blew up, right? And then all of a sudden, there was just all this uproar over, ICE is shooting the innocent protesters. I mean, that was just to literally to deflate the whole, what's going on with Minnesota? What is happening with the Somali daycare fraud? That was literally to take pressure off of that, right? But there are so many cases of this that it's not like you're going to be able to say, that's not happening. There's none of that happening. That's not happening. Let's read this story. Federal prosecutors in Chicago say foreign nationals exploited U.S. Medicare and supplemental insurance systems on a massive scale, filing more than $1 billion with a B in fraudulent claims for medical equipment, diagnosis tests that were never delivered. And in some cases, never authorized by patients or doctors. I think there's so much of that going on in the healthcare field because there's no real overseeing regulation, is there? I mean, it's just, give them an x-ray, that's fine. Do that procedure, that's fine. And there's so many layers of absolute nonsense that somehow you can throw in $1 billion worth of fake medical receipts. That's essentially what they did. Court filings unsealed in Chicago detail multiple schemes allegedly run by nationals of Kazakhstan and Pakistan. The stands. A lot of fraud going on in the stands, right? Who took control of illegitimate-looking medical suppliers, used stolen patient data, and fabricated prescriptions, attempted to funnel proceeds overseas before investigators intervened. Where was it? I think it was Minnesota. I think it was Minneapolis, where you had literally hundreds of millions of dollars that people literally declared in cash at the airport, getting on planes and flying to Lord knows where, right? Flying to Sudan, flying to wherever that they could switch out their money and kind of launder it. According to prosecutors, Medicare was inundated with tens of thousands of beneficiary complaints tied to the fraudulent billing. Patients across several states told investigators they never received the equipment billed in their names, never received the equipment, did not request it, and in some cases were not even diagnosed with the conditions the claims purported to treat. Shocker. Big shocker there, right? No. And you know what it is? It's a lot of oversight. There is no oversight in so many of these states and in so many of these industries. It's just gotten so big to just hand out money left and right. Give it to the criminal illegals. Give it to whatever. Give it to the Somalis. Give it to whomever. Give it to the LGBTQ community. They need it. One of the most aggressive operations centered on a Kentucky-based supplier, the prosecutors say became a shell vehicle for hundreds of millions of dollars in false claims. We've got submitting approximately, here's the number, 666 million, the number of the beast, in Medicare claims in just 5 months for glucose monitors and catheters. $666 million in fake claims for glucose monitors and catheters. Wow. I mean, that is well over $100 million a month in catheters and glucose monitors. That's a racket. I mean, how did they figure they were going to get away with this? Here's the hint. They're getting away with it right now. These guys just happened to get caught because they probably went too bold. They're just like, oh yeah, this is the greatest thing ever. We're never going to get busted for this. Until you do, right? Until all of a sudden, Nick Shirley, you got any kids in the daycare? Knocking on the door? Well, he wasn't there during business hours. Yeah. Why is the Leering Center gone? Why are the trucks all gone? Why is the Leering Center sign down? Why does it look like it's actually closed now? Inquiring minds want to know, right? Nah, it's because you've got all kinds of fraud going on at all kinds of levels. This is what Doge was kind of working on, just fraud in general. Massive amounts of money being tossed out there. And you've got fraudsters jumping in. You've got the Stans jumping in. You've got the Somalis jumping in. You've got, whomever. What was the one back in the day? It was the Nigeria. The Prince of Nigeria was exiled from his homeland. He's got $500 million. He wants to come to the United States. If we put that in your bank account for just a little bit and allow you to take the interest, would you be okay with that? Oh, yeah. What do I have to do? Oh, you got to send us a deposit to, that whole thing. That was a great internet scam back in the day. Court records show 𝗥𝗘𝗠𝗜𝗨𝗠 entered the U.S. May 2023 in a temporary work visa, became a manager, company was sold, they had 250 complaints, never received it, did not have diabetes. Employees later told agents their sole task was to forward mail. Okay, here we go. This is the company. When investigators surveilled Priority One's listed Kentucky office, they found it largely empty. Sounds like so many of the Somali daycares. Sounds like so many of the daycares here in Washington State. Sounds like so many of them in Seattle that our new mayor, Katie Wilson, will not investigate because she doesn't believe, there's nothing to see there. There's nothing going on there. Employees later told agents their sole task was to forward mail, including checks, to a supervisor they had never met. Interesting. Often via the encrypted messenger app Telegram. That's where you send all the stuff when you don't want it to be traced, right? While Medicare stopped payments before most funds were released, prosecutors say supplemental Medigap insurers paid at least $450,000. How can you game the system by these huge numbers and there's nothing to catch it? I mean, it's mind-blowing, isn't it? There are so many of these stories going on that I think we become just immune. Financial records show what the guy wired tens of thousands of dollars to foreign accounts and attempted to move more before authorities stepped in. Prosecutors say the Priority One scheme was not an anomaly, but part of a broader pattern involving similar tactics and staggering billing volumes. Here we've got 470,000 fraudulent claims, about $953 million in catheters. Wow. I mean, just some absolutely massive numbers. And it just keeps going on. Even as Somali-linked fraud cases in Minnesota dominate the headlines, this prosecution suggests the scope of Medicare fraud is far broader with billions potentially still buried beneath the surface. Absolutely, 100% agree. Let's move on. This is basically that same story. Empty offices, bogus bills, foreign nationals charged in Chicago with billions in Medicare fraud. I mean, with Let's Go Brandon Johnson at the helm of Chicago, I think anything is possible. Because you know that guy kicks out welfare money left and right. I mean, what did he spend on the criminal illegals coming to Chicago? $350 million? And he had a $1.1 billion deficit. He's like, I don't know how this happened. Well, you overspent there, ding dong. And you don't have your spending under control, and you don't have the revenue money coming through. So most all of these cities, counties, and states where all of the mass fraud is going on, they're in a budget deficit because they're continually overspending. So when something else comes in like this, they don't have the money to cover it. But this is what's happening. Washington State, we had a massive, $400 million, whatever that fraud deal was back in the day, I think during the pandemic. And you're just left with, how does all of our taxpayer money go there? Well, there's lack of oversight. There's lack of oversight. I believe it's just like the voter registration rules. If you went through all of those in every city, every county, every state in the United States, you would come up with millions of people that shouldn't be on the voting registration rolls. They're not citizens. Just like that. Oversight like that. Voter ID, make it a thing, right? Make it happen. So I think it's wildly clear that there is a real trend here. That money is going out the window, whether it is from criminals directly sending it back to wherever, or I think the vast majority of it is intentional. And oftentimes, like Minnesota, it's not that Minnesota was involved, but their lack of oversight, their lack of follow-up to when the fraud was happening, that involves, they're involved. They're complicit. They are responsible. Hey, you didn't do anything when people, repeatedly said, hey, governor, hey, mayor, you got a lot of stuff that looks pretty fishy here. Years and years and years and years of that. And Tim Walz just like, nope, got to fill up the tampon machines in the boys' locker room. Too busy. Can't investigate the Somalis. Yeah, I think that's what's going on. You've got a whole bunch of that because that benefits the 70 or 80,000 Somalis that are in Minnesota that are going to be on the voter rolls because these big blue liberal cities have made it so easy to vote. All you have to have is in Seattle, for instance, my son voted this last presidential election. He doesn't listen to any of these podcasts really, so it's okay. I can, say crap all day, how long I want. I don't about my son. But he went to vote and it was at Quest Field. I believe it was Quest, one of the big stadiums. They're both, you got the football stadium and the baseball stadium and they're side by side. And he went in there and they literally, they can't ask him for his ID. Why not? Well, because some voters may not have identification. Why is that? If you're legal to vote in the United States, if you're a registered voter, if you're a U.S. citizen, you're going to have some ID. The idea that you don't have ID or you can't get ID is absolutely, it's insane. It's insane. You can get ID. If you're a legal voter, you can get ID. But it is so easy in the city of Seattle to vote. Oh, yeah, come on in. What's your name? We're going to flip through this book here. What's your name again? Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. There you go. Go ahead and vote. That's how easy it is. It's wild. Because back in the day, we used to have to, it's like us still boarding a plane today. Now they're going to scan your driver's license. They're going to charge you if you don't have the right ID, whether it's the new driver's license or, a valid passport. They're going to charge you. You've got to have that just to get on the plane to match up with your plane ticket. But you can vote without any of that? Weird, right? No, it's not weird. It's a pattern. It's a thing. It's out there. and it is happening, and I will continue to cover it moving forward. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next episode. Love to have you subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.